Excellent. Hi, Anne. Welcome.
Hi, Emily.
The first time I'm doing an interview.
It's great to be with you. I'm so pleased to be your first one.
All right. And this interview is going to be about light in the darkness. Can you tell me what is the purpose of light in the darkness?
Well, the last 2 weeks of December are a very dark time for many people. Our country has gone through so much over the last 2 years with the pandemic. And even before that time, Emily, suicide rates and depression rates are very high at this time of year. So the purpose of Light in the Darkness is to provide a safe space online for people to come during the pandemic and get emotional support and social connection.
Beautiful. And what do you hope people who will join these calls will gain in light in the darkness?
Well, it's my dream that really our whole society can change from a society that's driven by materialism to a society that's driven by altruism. So in our tiny, small way, I hope that we can be a model for a new way for people to be together, where we're not shopping, we're not feasting, we're not bragging, and we're not being entertained. We're being together around the fire, only now the fire is in our hearts.
I see. Almost like revitalizing the family.
Yes, that's right, Emily. And as we know, with job changes and relocations, the family has changed so much over the last couple of generations. So at this time of year, it's especially hard for people who are separated from their families, and also for people who experience emotional difficulty with their families. So we want to be a resource for people in both of those situations.
I see. And is there anything that you hope to gain from this, such as a better understanding of how people respond to the holiday season, or the support that can be offered to them?
Yes, both of those things are true. One thing that happens for me, and this is the second year that I have done Light in the Darkness. Last year I did it in the Bay Area, and this year it's being hosted here in LA through the Painted Brain and FEMA Cal Hope. So what I hope that I and the other crisis counselors who are holding space for this event, as well as the participants, receive is a sense of being embedded in a community, that our life has meaning, not only because of our individual accomplishments, but because we can gather in community spaces together and support one another. Because at the end of the day, that is much more meaningful to people's quality of life than individual accomplishments.
I agree with that a lot. Having a sense of togetherness, group, the emotional support we can offer, there's nothing that can compare to that.
Mm-hmm. That's so true, Emily. And that's really been forgotten, and it's been pushed to the back burner behind economic pressures and pressures to achieve in Western society. So, we honor those other values, but we just don't want our traditional values of community to get lost in the change and the growth of society.
I see what you mean. And will we see light in the darkness in the future?
Well, next year, this is my hope, that light in the darkness multiplies like a virus. I was just listening to Sting performing Message in a Bottle, and that song is about putting out your little tiny message. And he waited a very long time in that song, but then he got thousands and even millions of messages back, letting him know that there were many people out there who felt the same isolation and had the same desire for connection. So I hope that in the future, there's not one light in the darkness happening in a Zoom room for 11 nights, but there are hundreds and thousands of light in the darkness happening in homes, around living rooms, in Starbucks, happening in libraries, and happening on all the social media platforms, hosted by just everyday people who have a warm heart and a listening ear and want to set a standard for valuing human community and not just shopping and entertainment here in Los Angeles, in California, in the United States, and in the world.
That was an incredible answer. So not even just to be confined with just using social media and just relying on the internet, but to reach out into our community in our own space, to bring that bit of light as we go through these hard times.
Yeah, there have been hard times before, and there will be hard times again. So this is just one of those humps that together we can get over.
During this pandemic, there has been an increase in isolation, depression, and anxiety in the population. Are there any words of advice you would like to offer to the people who are feeling this way?
Yes, the most important piece of advice that I have to share, and this comes from my personal experience, is keep in mind this too will pass. So don't take action when you're feeling low. Don't end relationships, don't end your life. Just let yourself know that feelings are like weather, just like these 3 days of rain we just had in LA. And this afternoon, the sun came out and the sky is blue again. Your feelings are going to pass just like weather. So don't make decisions when you're in a low mood.
Oh, and you're like a natural poet. Beautifully said. I've heard advice as well being, you've survived every worst day ever you've ever had, and you can continue to survive those days. You just have to keep moving forward. Reach out for the people you trust who can help you.
Yes, and if you feel low, just, go to the grocery store and buy something and get in line and say something kind to the cashier, or say something kind to the homeless person that's out in the parking lot, and you'll feel better because you did that thing. Just the simplest little things can make such a big difference in lifting our spirits and lifting our mood.
I agree with that. I agree with that a lot. Sometimes the smallest human interaction has the biggest impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how we recover our sanity and our community.
Mm-hmm. Well put, Anne. Well, no
Really, is there anything else that you'd like to know about light in the darkness, or that we can talk about today?
I would like to ask, is Light in the Darkness hosted by other organizations besides Painted Brain?
Well, the first one was hosted by an organization called Sanctuary that was providing online emotional support and social connection up in the Bay Area during the pandemic. But we had a worldwide, group that was attending. Maybe 100 people were part of that initiative. So that's where it got its start. And then now that I have moved to LA and joined forces with Painted Brain and Cal Hope and FEMA, that Painted Brain has graciously agreed to sponsor the event this year. So I do think that it is happening in subtle ways all over the place. I attended an event last night with the same name that was sponsored by a group dedicated to meditation and self-development, they named their event Light in the Darkness. It's just a way um, of holding the human experience of this season when the days have grown short and the nights have grown long and feelings are running strong.
Beautiful. And then in that way, in the future, we can see this not just growing in California, but growing out in the other states. And who knows, maybe even in an international level.
Yeah. Other societies outside the United States often still have their cultural festivals intact in a way that our very young nation here, at least in the form that it currently exists, is young. We really don't have a strong base of cultural festivals. Our connection with the land is not what it once was when the native peoples were celebrating the seasons here in America. And so I think that it's up to us here in the US to craft festivals that support our human communities and make sense across cultures and across time.
I have heard something along those lines about how the United States, we like to kind of push our history behind us. While it's admirable how we like to push forward, we should at least take a moment to step back and look at the past and appreciate how far we've come.
Mhm. And what we have left behind that we might want to slow down and reintegrate. Like
Mhm.
in the name of Los Angeles, and I do not know the original name of this area. I would love to know that, but the Spanish name was about the divine feminine, the Virgin Mary. And Los Angeles is only the last two words. It was um, it was Our Lady, um, the Queen of Heaven, and the Queen of the Angels.
Would you like to hope that in the future, perhaps we can have a light in the darkness that can help us reconnect with the land?
Yes, I find that many people today are disconnected from nature and from the seasons. And even to reconnect in a small way, like go outside your house and has the rain put a gift there on your sidewalk. Bring it in, admire it, give it a special place on your windowsill, because it's no accident that that particular gift of nature came to you. I had a very rare one appear, a hummingbird nest. So I
Wow,
brought that little guy in. What a tiny nest, right?
so cute.
So that one is in the window. And noticing things like when awakening in the morning, noticing the quality of light and how it varies from day to day. Or in the evening, before going to bed, just stepping outside and noticing the quality of the air, the temperature and the moisture in the air, and how that varies from day to day. These kinds of very small things that anyone can do, even if you don't live near a forest or a mountain or a beach, you can still participate with the cycles of nature in a way that may be very grounding and very healing.
You're reminding me of this incredible quote that I heard a while ago from a homeless man in LA who said Los Angeles feels like a constant spiritual attack of the self. And that, in order to survive that, you have to reconnect with that spirituality, you have to connect with nature, and hopefully find a support group that is on the same wavelength as you. So you can't be constantly pushed down by these pressures.
Mhm. This is a very physical, material place. And we see all kinds of amazing economic developments coming out of here, the entertainment industry, technology, banking, education. But that same physical energy that allows our economy to be so strong here in LA can also tempt us to be a little bit materialistic, no matter what our socioeconomic position is, to miss the invisible and only focus on the material. So I agree with you. That is very much a challenge. And it's been my own personal challenge in the year that I've lived here.
Mm. Well, and I don't want to take up too much of your time since this is a holiday, but any parting words you would like to leave for an audience, for people in the future to come back to?
I would say, think about and value the invisible, the mind and the heart of the people around you, the invisible that you feel in nature. Take a few minutes every day to value that, and let the people around you know that you are there for them. And if we do that every day of the year, we will not need special rooms once a year to bring people that quality, because it will be available to everybody every day.
Wonderfully said, Anne. Thank you so much for taking your time to meet me. Is there any contact info you want to leave for anyone to reach out to you?
Sure. Okay, I'm going to give you my email is Anne with an E .Nicholson, Nichoolson at paintedbrain.org. And my number is 213-302-4639, extension 1019. Or you can find me on social media at Nicholson MBTP, which stands for Mind Body Therapy Practitioner, which is what I'm trained to be, but mostly I just hang out and do art and love people.
That's beautiful. That's basically the same thing. All right. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Emily. Have a wonderful Christmas Eve, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
I do too.
Visit paintedbrain.org.